Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. And so Black people have got certain people worried because we're not worried. We're not upset. And we're still line dancing all over the place. So Black people are supposed to be upset. If anybody is upset, in the United States of America, it ought to be Black people. And why is that? It is because we have always shown how we felt when something was going wrong in America. So we are the heart of America. We have to be crying and bleeding and complaining and talking about how bad things are. But this time, Black people are not the main players in the misery department. So white people are out there protesting, or I call it having a glorified parade, and Black people are still at home. So Bill Maher, of all people, is wondering why there weren't more Black people at the No Kings parade. And so, somebody's got to tell him. Black people are resting. Black people are tired of the shenanigans. Black people are tired of saying the same things over and over and over again. Black people tried to warn Americans what would happen if Donald Trump had a second term, and nobody listened. Nobody listened because they didn't trust the system. They didn't trust Kamala Harris, and they didn't trust what might happen if she became president. So many awful things are going to happen. Well, now they got what they voted for. And now they're saying stuff like, we didn't vote for this. We didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this. I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did. You did vote for that. So I came across this article about Bill Maher questioning the absence of Black people because even he knows that's alarming. If Black people are not upset about it, that's a red flag. So Bill Maher asked why more Black people did not show up to very white No Kings protest. So they said that 7 million people showed up for that protest / parade. And the media barely covered it. These so-called protests are not even registering on the news radar. People are talking about other stuff. They would rather talk about anything than to talk about these 7 million people, mostly white, out in the streets talking about no kings. And I don't know who the Black people are who did show up. Probably a lot of them were immigrants, maybe illegal. And so they wanted to show up for the Black people, I guess. But the main body of Black Americans are not participating in these parades, and said so from the beginning. Black people said they were resting, and it looks like Black people are keeping their word. But let's get into the article. Bill Maher on Real Time calls anti-Trump No Kings protests very white. On Real Time, Maher noted that the Baltimore Sun claimed their journalists struggled to find Black people at the No Kings rallies to photograph. More than 7 million people showed up for the rallies across the country. Now, I guess y'all got that. They're running around looking for Black people to make the face of that protest. to make it seem authentic and to put a black person on the cover of their newspaper or magazine or whatever it is they're working for, looking for black people. They struggled to find black people at the No Kings rallies. I think that's almost hilarious if it wasn't just, I don't even know what you call that, looking for black people. There were white people galore. I'm sure there were Hispanics and Asians, but they're looking for black people. Mm, mm, mm. Here's a question that I saw. I did not realize until it hit the news a lot was that it was very white. What do you make of that? Maher asked panelist Michael Steele. The guy in Baltimore, the paper there said, our photographer struggled to find a picture of black people in this march. I'm okay with that. I can go, and I feel like, well, you talk. Well, we had a meeting, Steele joked as the audience laughed, and let's just say it didn't go too well for white folks. Steele called the focus on race a distraction. He argued, that is a distraction for me to go down that road because the No Kings piece is very different from another piece that question I think gets to. And that is the relationship that broke with Democrats and the African American community in the last cycle, particularly with black women. And so I think the No Kings thing, I would set that aside because, you look at the fact that in the first version of that, 5 million Americans showed up. This version, 7+ million. That's a trend line that you pay attention to. Maher later claimed black people may have been less interested in taking part in the protest out of fear of being identified. Black people have never been afraid of being identified in a protest that they believed in. Black people do not believe in this protest, Mr. Maher. That's why black people didn't show up. Also, black people did the heavy lifting on election day. So when you do all that you can, you just stand. You don't keep getting out there in the streets waiting on the police to come out there and knock you in the head for something that you tried to avoid but weren't able to because the people out there in the streets voted against their interests, and now you're supposed to be out there. They're trying to help them rectify the situation. No, that is wrong. And it is really disingenuous for him to say that black people are afraid of being identified. Black people have never been afraid of being identified in a protest that they believed in. Am I right about it? Bill Maher goes on to say that in China, if they see you at a rally, and they always do because they have cameras everywhere, and they may have that here. Maybe when I go into work, I'm not going to be welcome there, he said. And I think black folks have a greater understanding of this than the white folk, which is why they might not have shown up. And I don't blame them. Well, you know what? They would rather believe anything than to believe that black people are thinking for ourselves. We have made a decision that this is not our fight anymore because we did what we could at the time that it should have been done. It has nothing to do with being afraid of being identified. They have always been able to identify black people. I don't know what he thinks is new. There's nothing new going on around here. They've always been able to identify black people because guess what? Black people are the ones who get arrested. They're not even any police showing up at these parades because that's all it is. That's all it is. They have signs and they're marching around laughing and talking and drinking water. This is not, that's serious for them. But I'll just say this. This is their fight. This is white people's fight. Now they're talking about cutting SNAP benefits. And if you look on TikTok, white people are complaining about SNAP benefits as much, if not more, than black people. White people are being hurt by these tariffs. White people are being hurt by losing their jobs. But what they do, they make black people the face of it, like they did the 300,000 black women being fired from their jobs. Yes, 300,000 black people. But how many white people have been fired from their jobs? See, they do things like that. That's why they want the black people out there. They want to make black people the face of the negative stuff so that white people won't raise up. But now they're at a point where if white people don't raise up, it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse for everybody. So this is truly their fight, and they're doing right to do something before it's too late. But anyway, y'all, let me know what you think about this. Bill Maher trying to justify black people not being at the protest by basically saying black people are scared. And that's very rich, talking about a group of people who have never been afraid to say this is wrong. Anyway, until he gets out there and puts his life on the line, he just needs to keep it quiet, zip it up. What y'all think about this? Thank you for listening and have a good evening.